Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Asher Marketing Podcast. I'm Anthony Giuliano, and our guest this week is Asher's president, Kelley. Kara, how you doing?
I'm good, Anthony.
So you have the distinction of being the first ever repeat guest on this podcast, and that is because this is a special episode where you have some news to share. What's that news, Kara?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be the second guest. These are big shoes. But the big news that we have is that I and our colleague and my business partner, Megan Bennett, our CFO, are now majority owners of Asher Agency.
Okay, so returning to Asher's roots as an independently owned, locally owned, independent agency.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit, put this into context for me. I've been here for 18 years. You've been here just about as long. But for those who don't know Asher's history, talk about how the agency was founded and then what changed a few years ago and where are we headed from here?
Yeah. So our agency has been around almost 50 years, and it was founded on family. Tim Borney founded the agency back in 1974. And soon thereafter, his brother Tom Borney came in and worked alongside him. And it was really just a local, independent, family-owned business. And they ran a really good business.
Yeah, and even though it was local, it had national clients.
Absolutely.
Worked with a lot of businesses that people would recognize, but it was still locally owned and operated.
Yep. And, one of the largest media buyers in the state. So, yes, we had a national presence, regional presence, and, of course, local. And they ran such a good operation here that we were approached by a holding company about 11 years ago, Eastport Holdings, based out of Memphis, Tennessee, and we were their first acquisition of this newly established holding company.
And this was 2014?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So Eastport went on to buy 19 other agencies around the country in Dallas, Miami, Chicago, San Diego, but we were there first, and it's been a really positive relationship. But we, as you know, and I might have touched on this in my first podcast, we hit some challenges about 2 years ago when there was a change of leadership at the corporate level for Subway, which is our largest client for 30 years. They made an executive decision to eliminate local ad agencies, and that was a big blow to us. Agencies, we're only as good as the clients that we work with, and that was our largest one. And so that was a punch in the gut. We had to make some challenging decisions just to right size. But then literally right on the heels of that, weeks later, COVID hit, global pandemic. So it was to say challenging and difficult, recovery from that. Megan and I, she as a CFO and me as a president, just locked arms and got in lockstep and made some really just hard decisions. And we leaned on each other and trusted each other. And in the midst of that, and knowing that we were facing some financial challenges, thought to ourselves, okay, if we can do this, let's do this. And so we approached our holding company about a year, just over a year and a half ago, and said, what if we bought ourselves back? And could we have done that in the heydays of having Subway as a client? We probably wouldn't have been able to achieve the price point that they were looking for.
Yeah.
So it was a time where it was now or never.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the rebound mode, recovery mode, and Eastport was so supportive of us and of everyone at Asher. They believe in the great work that we do, and they wanted to give us a chance. And so...
Yeah, from what you've told me, they helped make it happen.
They did.
They could have been resistant. They could have said no way, but helped make it happen, which is a credit to them. You know, having worked with the Eastport folks for, I guess it was 8 years, they certainly were true to their word of kind of letting us run the business locally. But I assume some of the change is because as a member of a holding company, you can't qualify as a small business because you have to count all the employees across the entity, and don't have the advantage of being a women-owned business which you may pursue now that you and Megan are majority owners.
Yep.
So there's some logistics there that might not be readily apparent, but sounds like you had the best of both worlds, a good partner who was willing to help you move forward and the ability to do that.
Well, you touched on the reasons why we did this, and that is to become locally owned again, to become independent, and ultimately to become women-owned. I mean, our creative director is female,
Yep.
our media director, female, Megan, CFO. I mean, so we were able to say that we were a female-operated business, but now we can say that we're women-owned, and yeah, we're going to chase after this certification that I hear is very complex and time intensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to go after it and get that certification, that stamp of approval. But being born and raised in Fort Wayne, I mean, now we can truly give back to the community that we serve, and we can truly. We always looked out and protected our people, but we are able to operate independently and chart our own path.
Yeah, well, it's funny because in talking to clients especially, there were a number of them that didn't even know we were part of a holding company.
Yeah.
So, that may signal that it's not going to be that big of a change to clients. But what have you heard from the people you've talked to, whether it's clients, vendors, employees, when you made this announcement? Because we're a couple weeks into it at this point.
Mm-hmm. Everyone unanimously has been supportive and excited for us, for our community, for Asher. And I mean, it's a new chapter in the legacy of this agency and everyone. And I think everything that I've heard from our team, I mean, our staff is so excited, and our clients, it's just been overwhelming, the support.
Yeah. Well, and I'm watching as Megan walks down the hall
I
as
know,
we're
I did
recording
too.
this. But there was a lot of work that had to happen behind the scenes. Talk a little bit about some of the things that will change, some of the things that won't change, and some of the things you had to do to make this happen. Now, obviously, only share what you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
But what's been some of the work that's happened that has made it a smooth transition?
I think making it a smooth transition has been, I'm stating the obvious, but all of the work and all of the thought that we have put into this move. It didn't happen overnight. I wish, candidly, it would have happened a little sooner. It was a long haul, and I was so eager at first. I mean, it's hilarious. I was like, we're going to get this done in a month. And everyone laughed at me, and here we are a year and a half later.
Yeah.
But I mean, we just tried to think through everything and think through it from our employees' perspectives. Everything that we have done has been done with our employees in mind. Absolutely everything. I mean, healthcare. I mean, there was not a single rock we didn't uncover because we needed to get the best benefits for our team. So it's been I've learned a lot along the way. I mean, safe harbor and 401k, and I mean, just things that that's pretty basic, but it's been so many legal terms and required documents, and
well, I think when you're on the receiving end of those things, you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of regulatory things and hoops to jump through and all that. So I am blissfully aware of the details and hope to remain so, but good for you and Megan for pulling it together. Now, you and Megan are the majority owners, but you've got some partners in this. Tell us a little bit about some of the other folks who are involved.
We do. So Megan and I are the majority owners, but we have found just a phenomenal partner in Corporation, Ashcrest Corporation. So Tim Ash and then his counterpart, Tony Brita, have just been such great guiding lights and just counselors and mentors throughout this process. They facilitate deals all the time, and I've never been through anything like this. And so just so wise and experienced, and phenomenal partners. And they believe, again, in Asher and the great work that we do and the community that we serve. And they wanted to support a women-owned business also. And so they agreed to invest in us and believe in this team. So yes, Ashcrest.
Well, and for those who are listening from outside of Fort Wayne, the Ash business group, Tim Ash and his leadership have done a lot to redevelop downtown Fort Wayne. They changed the skyline with a new building and have transformed some buildings. So definitely committed to the community, committed as an investor, but also as a partner. So kudos to you for partnering with them because they seem like a great fit.
They really are. Yep, they really are.
So a couple final things. I don't think you can speak for Megan, so only if for yourself. What does this mean to you personally? Is this something you always wanted to do, or did you kind of surprise yourself? And if so, what does this ultimately mean for you in terms of fulfillment?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get real personal on this podcast. And
all
Anthony,
right, hang on, everyone.
We're
going to get real personal.
I don't know. I just don't know if you know this perspective that I have on this move. So my husband and I know you know this, have gone through a journey, an IVF journey, and an effort to become parents. 5 years of it, doctors in 3 different states, and just exhaustive. And, God has a plan for all of us, and that was not in our plan. But when this opportunity came up for me personally, Asher is my family. Asher is now, like, in a weird way, my baby. I'm going to love this company, nurture this company, grow this company, and it's my child. It's something that I can give back, I can invest in, and I can look back and, when I've had hard moments, my brother Tyler said to me once, he's like, Kara, just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you're not impacting the world. Mm-hmm. And this is my way to leave a mark, and a positive mark on this community, on our colleagues. And so personally, it's much deeper than just, I want to start a business.
Yeah.
And this is a legacy.
Well, that's really great. And when you think of it, the ability that this has, the impact it has on all the families of the people at Asher, the fact that, when you employ people at a business like Asher, you're enabling them to do what they're passionate about. Mm-hmm. So, and, you also have the bonus of being a great aunt. You were talking before we hit record about, spending time with your niece.
Oh, yeah.
So you're gonna do a lot of good through this for sure. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about Megan.
Yes.
Because Megan's been a partner to you in this. And you're more of the face, someone who people associate with Asher.
She's the
but
brains.
Megan's behind the scenes doing all the money stuff that you and I probably would never want to do. So talk a little bit about Megan's role in all this.
Oh, Megan, I never, ever, none of this would have happened without her. And I mean, she also helped give me the bravery to do it. She's one of the first who looked at me and said, Kara, should we try and do this thing? I also have a friend down in Birmingham, Alabama, who I'm in the CEO group, and he too was like, Kara, go for it. Mm-hmm. But without Megan's analytical attention to detail, all of the legal documents we've had to comb through, her knowledge because she has a rich history, no pun intended, in the financial industry in Boston, mm-hmm. as well as in Indianapolis. She brought so many skills that complement what I do. Yes, I'm much more of the face, and she's in the weeds, and we both are in them together, don't get me wrong, but she brings a totally different skill set to the table. And and I don't think either one of us ever, when we were growing up as little girls, thought, let's own an ad agency someday.
Yeah.
There's no way, but it is funny, not to go back to the child thing, but I mean, we joked, I thought this was going to get done in a month. Megan not only was pregnant, had a child, and now her daughter is nearly walking. She might be walking. Reagan might be walking now, since, throughout the duration of this transaction. So, kind of fun.
Yeah. So one more thing,
Yeah.
One of the reasons you and I have talked about this, independently about the team at Asher and, what that means to you, some of the people who work here, people who, are well recognized and have, a long history in the community, as well as some of the folks who just are kind of behind the scenes, who are the glue that holds this place together.
Yes.
How much did that impact your decision when you look at the people, who work here and in West Virginia and in DC and in Indy? How did that affect your decision to go for this?
It was everything in my decision, our decision to do this. It was everything. When you are in a holding company environment, it's business, and there are efficiencies sometimes that need to be made that you don't have control of when you're not at the head of the table. And it's all of every single one of our team members that, don't necessarily get the FaceTime with clients or don't necessarily, shine in that limelight, whatever that limelight is defined as for them. But it's keeping this team together who have given so much to this agency and who are so good at what they do. It's why we did this.
Yeah.
So it's 35 families that, we have brought along on this journey with us, and we're growing. We're hiring, and in some of our candidates, because we're in conversations now looking to fill a position or two. I mean, it excites them so much that we're going to be a women-owned business and that we're locally owned. And yes, to your point, some of them didn't even know that we weren't locally owned because we've been able to operate so independently.
Sure. And
Thanks again.
And our people, and it's not just in Fort Wayne. All of our people in the offices are involved in the community, and being part of a holding company didn't change that. The holding company was supportive of it, but it's a different level of investment when it's owned locally too.
Yep, it is. Yeah, I know I keep saying local, but it's so important. It's in the culture of Asher that we give back to the communities where we serve.
Yeah.
So whether it's Mike in the DC area or Steve leading the crew in Charleston, Margaret in Indianapolis, it's our teams in each of those communities that now they can say, I mean, they are local. I mean, we are an independent small business. So
yeah. Well, congratulations to you and Megan, and congratulations to us. This is good for everyone. Anything else you want to add? Any final words on this big change?
No, I just I feel. Sometimes I wonder how old I feel, but I feel young. I feel hungry. There's a whole road ahead of all of us, and I'm so excited. We were signing our final paperwork, and Tony Brita was there with us, and it just felt like the end of this long haul. And he looked over at Megan and I, he goes, "This is the starting line."
Yeah.
And so that's where where we are.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning with this long history behind us that gives us the experience and the recognition and the equity to move forward. But just really excited. And we're all in this. We're all, there's such a good commitment from everyone on our team. And here we go. Yeah. This is the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
I keep saying this in my mind. I'm like, this is the last thing. But when I wrote the largest check I've ever written in my entire life, in the memo, I put, "Here we go." So that's.
So a lot of work ahead.
Yes.
And what that means is you need to get to yoga class.
Yes,
so
I do.
You can relax a little bit.
Namaste.
There we go. Well, Kara, thank you so much for doing this. And thanks to everyone who took the opportunity to listen to this very special episode of the Asher Marketing Podcast. We will be back next week with hopefully no more really big news, but another great guest. And we hope you will join us then.